Hello, Laziali all over the world. Welcome to another episode of Lazio Lounge. I'm Vittorio Campanile. With me, a busy Alistair McKenzie. Plenty of things to talk about. We have to talk about Lazio Venezia, the Monday night match of Serie A. We have to talk about the derby. We have to talk about the table because a big leap for Lazio this Monday. But first, I have to thank our friends of Lazio Toronto for the scarf. Thank you, guys. It's amazing. I really love it. And I will wear it at the stadium now going forward. And I'm pleased that Alistair didn't receive it. So, I mean, you understood who is the best of the group. So, thank you very much for that. And Alistair, shall we start from Lazio Venezia? Not probably the best performance in a while, but three very important points.
Well, first of all, let me just put it on the record that I'm not in this for the bribes. I'm not in it for the prizes. It's all about the content for me. So no, I'm quite disappointed actually. I'm a bit jealous that you're getting given freebies while I sit freezing in the press box with nothing. Yeah. Anyway, game. Yes, it was probably not what we hoped for. Because we've made quite a lot of this point where Lazio having a week to prepare for matches should be better, where Lazio are kind of showing signs of improvement and being more cohesive under Sarri in recent weeks and months. And so, given it's been almost 10 days between the Cagliari and Venezia games, and it's Venezia at home, I think we had every right to expect a better performance than what we got.
Do you think the fact that there were 10 days had a bad result on the team playing? Do you think it was too many days off? I think Sarri gave 2 days off to the group, to the players, and maybe that affected the result, the performance.
Yeah, I did wonder about that as well, because especially the days off, how we saw, well, everyone's probably seen that Sergei went off to Paris because then he goes for a romantic weekend in Paris, and that immediately means, according to the Italian media, that he's joining PSG for the 6th year in a row. Anyway, yeah. So I don't know if that makes the players relax a bit too much. I would hope not, because they still got back on Wednesday, so it's still a lot more training time and preparation time, and I guess mental focus on one particular match than they've been getting up until now. So no, I mean, I honestly think a lot of the credit has to go to Venezia as well for the way that they set up and defended, because they did show that if you kind of close down those spaces and you play cohesively and as a defensive unit, you can cause Lazio problems. And I don't think there have been many teams who have really managed to frustrate Lazio's attack as much as Venezia did last night at the Olimpico this season.
It's also true that this type of matches, if you don't score immediately, it gets complicated. And if I'm not wrong, Lazio is one of the teams that score more often in the first 20 minutes of the matches. So not scoring yesterday immediately didn't help. And I didn't expect Venezia to come to Rome and put the bus in front of the goal, honestly, Alistair. I thought Venezia was a different type of team, right? Playing offensive mind football. So maybe even that was a little bit of surprising for Lazio players.
Perhaps, yeah, you're right. And you kind of get these different types of teams battling at the bottom, and they've been one of the more proactive ones this season. But maybe they've, given that the way their form's gone recently and the fact they've slid into that relegation zone, they might just have decided to change tack a bit and try a different approach. So yeah, I mean, it was kind of frustrating in that regard, especially I think first half was really flat. The build up to the game yesterday was great, because there was a lot happening around tributes to Pino Wilson and members of the 74 team. They're getting a prize, and I thought it was a good atmosphere. It was a decent sized crowd, and it felt like an occasion where Lazio should really start quite fast, because a big night game, a lot around it, a lot of emotion around it, and so I was disappointed with the first half. I think it was Lazio up their pace, up their tempo in the second, but I just want them to start a bit harder than that in these games.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Starting from before the match, what's your take on the boost to Lotito when he was presenting the prize to the son of Pino Wilson? Because here in Rome, some Lazio fans are disappointed for that.
Yeah, there's a time and the place, isn't there? I mean, it's fine if you want to boo Lotito and chant against Lotito, you've got the whole kind of 3 hours you're in the stadium. You can do that whenever you want, but at that particular moment, when the reason Lotito's up on the screen is that he's honoring a Lazio great who's just died, it didn't seem like the most suitable time to really be making that voice heard and kind of just changing the mood a bit. I don't know. I mean, you were in the stands, so you'll have a clearer idea of what the mood was like than I do. But it does seem like with the Acerbi stuff and with some of this anti-Lotito stuff going on, there's a bit of division at the moment about what the what's being what the Curva are protesting against and what everyone else is thinking.
Yeah, there was the guy behind me that said, I came to the stadium just to boo Lotito. So this tells you a little bit about the atmosphere. And yeah, my daughter really enjoyed it because he said a lot of things about Lotito, Acerbi, and so on. You mentioned booing to Acerbi again. We said it before. This is a stupid mistake. And again, we have to reiterate that Curva Nord booed Acerbi, but the rest of the stadium booed the Curva Nord and said to stop them during the match. So this is important. Before I forget, the minute of silence of Pino Wilson was really emotional. We went to, I don't know how many football matches. I don't remember that type of silence. It was really astonishing.
Yeah, I tweeted after it last night that I'd never heard the Olimpico that quiet, and I meant it. I mean, there've been a few silences, sadly, over the years, but I can't really remember one where you could hear a penny drop like that. I mean, it was honestly like, because I was there for work last night, so I had my laptop with me, and I was genuinely worried that I left my WhatsApp open on my screen or something. I felt like if that notification sign goes off, everyone in the stadium is going to hear it. It was that quiet. So no, I mean, I think it goes to show how much respect people have for Wilson, for that team, for that achievement. And you're right, it was an emotional occasion. Some banners at both ends of the stadium for him as well, and some nice chants and so on as well. So yeah, it felt like a good send off. I wonder if there'll be more in the derby as well when the choreography's out, or well, we'll see.
Yep. My moment. Let's talk about the referee because again, I thought yesterday it was a disaster. From the stadium, you could really see if Zaccagni was diving or not. I came back home, saw the highlights. I thought there was a clear contact. I'm not saying it was a penalty, but definitely he wasn't diving. And then the penalty. I mean, from the distinti where you can hardly see the match, it was clear it was a penalty. How is it possible that the ref 1 meter close to the action didn't see and has to be called from the VAR to give that penalty for Lazio? Really, the ref yesterday was awful, awful. And we are lucky that, I mean, the VAR called him for the penalty. Otherwise, maybe we will be talking about a draw.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I'd probably disagree with you on this. I think that essentially what this comes down to is that there's a difference between diving and simulation, and I don't think that Zaccagni dived because there was contact both times, but both times he was intentionally looking to make the contact in order to try and win the penalty. Likewise, at full speed during the game, when he first went down for the second challenge, I did think that was probably a penalty. But looking at it again, I don't think either of them are penalties. So I think the referee is correct in not giving Lazio penalties for those, because otherwise it sets a bad precedent in my mind for the way players try and win penalties. But on the other hand, the yellow cards, perhaps people can be aggrieved with because it wasn't like what you would call a dive, where there's no contact and a player falls to the floor looking for something. And it doesn't always have to be one or the other. It doesn't always have to be either a penalty or it's a yellow for diving. The obvious issue with it was that Zaccagni had literally just done the same thing about 3 minutes earlier. So I think that was pretty stupid from his point of view, if he was looking for that contact, to do it exactly the same move when he'd just seen that the referee isn't having it. So he's been given the warning, the referee saying, look, I'm not going to give those, so don't try and fool me. And then immediately afterwards, he does the same thing. So I'm not that surprised he got the booking, to be honest. But it's so frustrating because now he's out of the derby. So what a way to go. Do you think they were both penalties?
No, I'm talking about the header of Luis Filipe.
The header of oh, sorry, I thought. Have I just started talking about something completely different from what you were talking about?
No, I mentioned the yellow card of Zaccagni, which I said it wasn't a penalty for me, but it wasn't a yellow card for Zaccagni. Okay. And the other thing is the big error, because if VAR didn't intervene, then we would never get the penalty on Luis Filipe, and that was a clear penalty for me. And it's embarrassing that ref doesn't see those type of fouls, because they should be clear, easy to spot.
It's not been a great weekend for referees, has it?
Definitely not. Definitely not. And talking about what you were saying, then every time Dybala is in the penalty box, then it's a yellow card for simulation for him, right? He always starts diving. So,
well, I think if players actually dive, it should be a yellow card. What I'm saying more is that if there can be like a tackle made or a block made that makes a player go down that isn't a penalty or a foul for simulation. It's just a tackle or a physical coming together. You know, it doesn't always have to be the two extremes. But yeah, I mean, beyond all the penalty stuff, there was Immobile's goal disallowed for a very tight offside, which is a shame because it was a beautiful goal.
Amazing goal. Amazing goal.
Beyond that, I mean, Anderson got in behind once. I think it was the only time in the first half that Lazio got in behind that defence, and his finish was way off target. And then there were a couple of chances after the goal, Alberto and Ciro kind of lashing at quite good opportunities over the bar. But yeah, they really didn't create an awful lot. And it made for quite a nervy ending. I mean, I can only imagine what you were like. The last 5-10 minutes of that game, were you feeling anxious, or were you
Definitely. But to be honest, Venezia had only 2 shots on target. So this tells you that they didn't create that much. So Lazio was defending definitely better. But, you know, when you don't close those type of matches, the last minutes could be really, really dangerous. And so obviously we were worried. I think, again, we saw Lazio enjoying too much playing and not being cynical and trying to score more goals. We had 67% of ball possession and only 1 shot on target. I mean, this is not acceptable, Alison. 1 shot on target, 67% of ball possession. Venezia had more shot on target than Lazio, 2 against 1. So this is where I'm a little bit concerned. Lazio should try to score, and then, you know, when you're 3-0 up, then you can start making back heels or whatever you want. But not when you're still 1-0 up.
Yeah, fine margins between that being one of these games that you think you've edged out and got the win that we, you know, most people expected, and being a kind of disastrous game where you've not killed it off and you're punished for that. They need to be killing off these games. But I guess, I mean, at the same time, you have to thank this suddenly good defense for letting that happen. It's another clean sheet. It's absolutely remarkable run defensively that they're on. And Patrick started a right back. What did you think of right back Patrick?
I think it's better when he doesn't train, right? Because let's not forget background. He didn't train pretty much all week. So there was big question marks The newspaper the day before said that probably Lazzari would have started, even though he just had one training with the rest of the team. And instead, Patrick start, and probably one of his best performance. I think we mentioned, right? Probably it's better Patrick on the right back that rather than central defender. I think there he has more space to run. He's less close to our penalty box, so he's less dangerous for us. So I think he played well, but even his eye didn't play as bad as usual. So this tells you a lot about our performance.
Yeah, I mean, even though I think about 30 seconds into the game, I clocked it when Okereke got the ball and he just ran in a straight line all the way down the left wing, and I was just thinking, where is Patrick gone? So at that point, I thought we were in for a long night. But yeah, you're right. He did rally and he did okay. Yeah, he did okay, and I agree. I think he's probably better suited in a way out there than in the center.
Thanks, Joaquin, for the comment. Alistair, we had 3 players that could have missed the derby: Zaccagni, Pedro, and Luis Filipe. Of the 3, the most that I had thought had chance to get a yellow card was Luis Filipe. Instead, he played a good match, being very careful, I thought, especially in the first half. But overall, that was an encouraging performance from the Brazilian, who didn't play very well in the last couple of months.
Yeah, I just get the feeling that the whole thing feels. I mean, I know they were on a good run already before Acerbi came back, but I think that now Acerbi's there, he is such a calming presence for everyone that it helps. I mean, I think we got a question about the defense from Karsten Krok, who said, "What's happened? It's defense is doing really well, not letting in a bunch of stupid goals anymore. Is it Strakosha? Is it Lucas Leiva?" And I think it's a bit of everything. And Sarri kind of touched on this yesterday. I think he was asked about Lucas and said, he's improved a lot since the first few months, which is evident for everyone to see. But also the fact that Alberto and Milinkovic have improved in their willingness to get back and help with the defensive side of the game. So I think it's all of this together, really. It's not just individuals improving, which I think we have seen in the likes of Strakosha and Lucas Leiva, but also the actual, Lazio actually defending as a team and feeling more comfortable off the ball than they were to begin with, when it seemed like 1 or 2 passes could slice open the entire team. So I think Acerbi back makes a big difference, because it's reassuring to me. I don't know if you agree, but I found it reassuring to see he's come back from quite a long injury at that age, and he looks sharp. Like he looks as good as he was before, in my eyes.
I don't know if we mentioned it here already, but I think Luis Filipe needs a leader like Acerbi close to him to manage him, and that's why with Acerbi near, Luis Filipe plays better. And overall, I think the movement of our defense have improved. They learn what Sarri wants from them. And yes, Sarri said that even Luis Alberto and Milinkovic have improved, but I think the condition of Leiva has improved, and that helps everybody. Again, yesterday, a great performance from Leiva, encouraging. And he played all the 90 minutes, which is something that doesn't happen very often. And this leads me to another question, Alistair. Yesterday, during the match, when Lazzari came in, Lazio made only 3 substitutions yesterday. I don't know if it's the first time during the season, but definitely was a huge surprise. We had other options on the bench, and you could rotate a little bit more, thinking that Sunday there's a derby. Instead, only 3 substitutions: Lazzari, Basic, and Pedro.
Which is a kind of classic now, isn't it? I mean, it's Basic has become the kind of classic substitution, and Lazzari as well, to be honest. And then whoever is kind of on the bench from that front 3. So it's not a huge surprise. I mean, I guess it comes back to the same kind of thing where you're looking at that Lazio bench for game-changing substitutions, and there aren't loads of options beyond what he did. I think Lazzari had a really good impact when he came on, though, in an attacking sense, certainly. So yeah, I mean, I think it just comes back to the same old squad depth issue, whether there's players there who Sarri sees as being too limited, or players there who aren't, developed enough, who aren't sharp enough yet to be trusted in these high pressure moments. Could be all those things. But yeah, the likes of Cataldi, for example, would usually, if we're having 2 games in a week, Cataldi would probably have come on for Lucas in that kind of moment. So I guess that was a change.
But what happened with Akpa Pro? Do you remember at the beginning of the season, Sarri praising Akpa Pro, and now I think this year he hadn't played a single minute. And again, Cabral, he just arrived and he's already disappeared. I mean, no chance. He didn't warm up, nothing at all.
Yeah, and Kaminovich, who even, before this game when Radu goes out injured, Patrick and Lazio have both hardly trained. Maricic is suspended. And even while there's this kind of fullback crisis going on, I don't think anybody ever really kind of expected Kaminovich to step in and get involved at any point. So
no, he didn't even try it, right? He didn't even try it, giving a go in the training. Kaminovich was never mentioned as an option, which, again, what's going on? Why do you sign a player who you think is not even good enough to try it in the training in that position? I mean, I don't know what to say anymore. I mean, I don't want to say we have to be like Juventus, that you sign Vlahovic, that change your season, but someone that could help.
It would be nice.
Yeah, someone that could help at least. I mean, I think Cabral came in the first 2 matches and that's it, right?
Yeah, it's Cabral's more mysterious because actually he's looked pretty good actually when he's played. He doesn't look like because I think the sense with Kaminovich all along has been that he's probably just not good enough or not ready. Whereas Cabral, we've seen him play and we know that there's a player there because he looks technically capable and he looks like he can operate in a couple of different roles that makes him very useful. So I guess that then comes down to the question of how serious Sarri is about the idea of him being the Vice Mobile, because if Cabral is very much seen in his eyes as just being a number 9, then that means he's only going to get a chance when Chiro's not playing. And a game like yesterday isn't the kind of night you're going to take Chiro off.
No.
So perhaps it's just along those lines.
Thank you, Willie, for your comment. Alistair, after the match, Maurizio Sarri said something really important. We should talk about that. Because Sarri said, we know that the derby is important, but here in Rome is too much important. It cannot be a match that decides the season. It's all the season. It's not just one match. It's important winning against Roma, but it cannot be everything. So, is it right?
Well, I mean, of course he's right in the sense that nobody's the idea that whoever wins the derbies is, the winner for the season is obviously not true. Because if you finish with 6 points from the season and lost every other game, it's not like either club's fan base is going to be particularly happy with how things have gone. But at the same time, it's worth acknowledging, these games are special. They do mean a lot. They are a major landmark in any season. And it's worth respecting as well the role they play as a kind of momentum swinger, where it can really send you one way or the other. And we've seen that years and years, that if you lose a derby, that can easily trigger a crisis. If you win a derby, it can turn your season around if you go into it in the wrong way. So, it's a bit of both. I think he's right to try and play down this idea of this being everything, because it's not everything for a club like Lazio, because they need to be more ambitious than that. But at the same time, I think it's worth respecting that it's not just any other match, because it isn't, and it's not going to feel like that on Sunday.
Well, I remember when I was in year 7, a friend of mine said, if Lazio win both derby, we can get relegated. I would be happy. So this is just to let everybody else know what's the feeling of the Rome derby in Rome.
Well, yeah, but I think this is your insight on this is probably far more meaningful than mine, because although I've supported Lazio my whole life, I'm not Roman. I have lived here for a long time.
Really?
I'm not actually Roman, but
I thought you were. I mean, your name is typical Roman.
I think you get a totally different perspective when you're like, because the reason it means so much to people, right, is that you're surrounded by family and friends that it's a personal thing. Because if you lose it, it's not just the team you support that's being lost. It's like all the crap you're going to have to put up with for however long after that, and what it all means in from the media surrounding it and all this stuff. So is that your experience? Is it that big to you that it's everything in a season?
Well, I have to admit that things have changed a lot. 10, 20 years ago, the derby was all the season. Now things have a little bit improved on that way. I mean, the derby, beginning of the 20s, would start 1 month earlier than the match and would finish 1 month later. Now it's just the week before. So this tells you how things have changed. But yeah,
does that not come back to the ambition thing, though, where basically the bigger the club's ambitions or the more successful Lazio are, the less the derby is meaningful, because they're looking for bigger things?
Not well. This is the year where both teams are out of bigger things, because none of them has a chance to reach a Champions League. So we out of the Coppa Italia. So I mean, this could be. It's true, Lazio won the first leg, so even if we lost this one, we would say, yeah, but we beat you in the other derby. So I think for Roma means much more than for Lazio, and I think it's probably for Roma it's all the season, right? If they lose the derby, Lazio is already ahead of them. There's a big chance they won't reach the Europa League next summer. So I think it is. I think it's. A lot for Roma fans.
I think with things as they are as well, it's worth remembering the importance of the head-to-head, because if we want to finish fifth, which in my mind is maximum objective, I know people are still holding on to the fourth place dream, but I don't see it. But obviously, head-to-head is the decider now, the tiebreaker in Serie A has been for a while, but Lazio having won the first game obviously means that a draw in this match wouldn't be a disaster, in the sense of finishing level on points. Is essentially winning 2 points instead of winning 1 point with a draw in that regard. But it's a real opportunity, because obviously go 4 points clear with a win. I think it's so hard to call, though, because I think if Lazio had put in a really confident win last night, they would definitely be going into this as big favourites, given how Roma have been performing. Roma are unbeaten in something like 8 matches, I think, in Serie A, but they've not been playing particularly impressively. But it is this ability of them to kind of grind out results and get these late goals, and it's all this stuff that worries me from Roma's perspective, because it tends to be the team you least expect to win that wins the derby.
Yeah, they have been very lucky, and that's what concerned me more, because late goals, late penalties, without playing well. Last match they lost in Serie A was in January against Juventus. Then they lost against Inter in Coppa Italia. But you cannot say they're having a good streak of matches, but they didn't lose since January, so that's impressive. And as you mentioned, normally the weaker team wins the derby, so Lazio has to be really careful. And again, going back to the importance, we have to remember that then there's a lot of matches after that, and it's not winning the derby that will decide who will reach the Europa League. There are more important matches going forward, so this is, I think, the most important thing, because the risk is, if you win the derby and you think, okay, it's done, and then you start losing against Sassuolo, etc., then it could be very dangerous and very problematic if you do like that, because at the end of the season there's Lazio, Juventus, Lazio. So you don't want to arrive to the last match of the year that you're still fighting for the Europe League position. So I guess Sarri is right in a way, saying that there are so many matches after that. But at the same time, in Rome, it's so important, the derby, that players feel it, right? Players feel the pressure that it's higher than in the derby. I mean, I've been living in Milan, and that's completely different. I mean, the derby is just another football match. In Rome, it's the football match. So that's the biggest difference. And I think, and I don't know if you agree with me, that this had a negative impact on both teams, right? Because in sometimes winning the derby made them look like the season was positive or successful, even though they were out of the Champions League, they will win nothing, etc. So this is where the negative side of this comes.
Yeah, but I mean, I see where you're coming from with saying that it's perhaps more important to Roma, but at the same time, I think that that thing I mentioned about the momentum swinger side of it, I think is huge for Lazio, because if you look at this run of games coming up, you're right to point out. Sassuolo, for example, right after this is a banana skin for Lazio. Is always a problem match against Sassuolo.
Yeah.
And beyond that, Genoa, 0-0 draw guaranteed. Torino have just held Inter, should have beaten them. They're a difficult team as well, and then Milan. So this 5-game run here is, I think, as a block, is probably more crucial than just this one game. But it's so important to me to get that win, to get off to a good start here, because it is a direct rival for that 5th place, and there's a 4-point gap to be opened up. And really, with the extra time to prepare, with the form that they're in, with the way they've been playing, I think Lazio should be looking to win this match, and confident that they can win this match. But I don't know how much, because I've seen quite a lot of comments from Roma fans about this, that it's so unfair that we have to play a Europa Conference league game in the middle of the week where you get a full week off. And it's like, didn't choose that, guys. we were quite keen to continue in the Europa League, but it just weren't good enough. But do you think that that's going to play much of a role, if any, the idea that Roma are playing Thursday night as well?
Well, first, it's very funny because in the past couple of years, it was the opposite. It was Lazio playing on Thursday, Roma having a full week to prepare, and nobody said that it was an issue. So finally, this time is the other way around. It's a problem. Definitely it is, because you're playing on Thursday and then you play again on Sunday. I'm curious to see if Mourinho will rotate the players, because it's an important match, because they have to win against Vitesse. Well, at least not lose against Vitesse to go further. So that's a problem. But they're playing in Rome, so they don't have to fly back from anywhere. So that's a huge advantage. So yeah, it could be dangerous. I read that Zaniolo could rest in the Europe League again. So this is what you get when you're playing in Europe. It happened to Lazio many times, and now it's their turn. So you have to do your best. The question is, we know that Mourinho hardly rotates the team, so that could be the biggest issue they have. If he play the starting 11 on Thursday, then there's a chance that Sunday they could be tired.
Well, it's difficult for him to rotate the team when he spent half of the season publicly criticizing his bench players. So, yeah, I mean, I think this is really a big moment for this defense. We've just been praising again and talking about the progress that's been made, but this is a big moment for them to step up and really prove that, for me, because this Roma team hasn't been scoring a lot of goals recently. Just had 3 1-0 wins in a row before a 1-0 draw with a penalty this weekend. So if Lazio can hold them, get another clean sheet, that for me would be a huge landmark moment for their maturity and progression, because I think there's already 50,000 tickets sold. It's going to be a hell of an atmosphere on Sunday night for this game. High pressure, high stakes. And if they can actually keep the calmness as much as anything else. I think a lot of Lazio's defensive problems in the past has been from, bottling under pressure, making stupid individual mistakes because they can't handle these moments, or they haven't been able to keep cool heads and make the right decisions collectively. So that's really something to look out for. But do you think there's many big selection decisions to make? I mean, obviously Zaccagni's out, so Pedro you would expect will come in, but anything beyond that you expect to be different?
Well, the difference will be if Rado is back.
Yeah.
Well, we know. I think Maruzic and Lazzari will start. They should start. So I think the Lazio starting 11 is pretty much decided already, right? With Acerbi back, Lazzari back. I mean, we know who's going to play if anything else happens.
Well, the question's really about whether Lazzari or Husai plays, probably. I think Maruzic will go straight back in, but we know Sarri likes Husai. I know you don't. You're shaking your head.
No, I'm
but
not convinced.
He does like him, and Lazzari is, as we all know, a slightly more attack-minded option. So it depends how conservative or not he wants to be.
Yeah, it could be even a solution for the second half. Maybe you start Husai, and then in the second half you unleash Lazzari. But not sure. I would go with Lazzari, but it depends. Even let's not forget that he had just a training with the team, so maybe he's not 100% fit. He cannot play 90 minutes. So that's the question mark I would have, because I agree with you. Maros will start definitely. So that shouldn't be a question.
One final thing to wrap up, because we probably should. We've gone a bit over. We got a question from Vildan Glavis about any word in Rome about the Tare contract situation. June's not far away. Tare's contract, Vittorio. What's going on?
Yeah, because we were all convinced that his contract was expiring this June. Instead, it looks like it's going to expire next year. So he still have 1 full year with us. Now, the question mark is, will he stay? Because there are rumors that Lotito's not very happy about him. And I cannot understand why. The last 4 transfer market was really successful. So, but I don't know what's going to happen. Rumors are that Lotito could sign the former Salernitana sport director, Fabiani, who was with him when he was the owner. I don't like that guy. I don't think he's the right move for Lazio. I hope that if we get rid of Tare, we sign someone better, a youngster that, has proved to do well in the last couple of years. The other name is Foggia, Pasquale Foggia, former Lazio player, who's doing quite well with Benevento, but again, not huge experience with a big team. So, don't know, not impressed.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see. It's one of the big talking points of this summer, really.
Yeah.
Just hope that whatever happens, it's sorted before the window starts. So we spend up until the end of the transfer window working out who's going to be in charge of transfers, and then the window shuts. I can see that happening as well.
Yeah, the last day he signed 7 players.
Yeah.
Well, Alistair, I think we can wrap it up here, and we'll be back after the derby. Very important match, as Sarri mentioned. Guys, again, thanks for listening to us. Remember, you can subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, Spotify, Spreaker, and you can support us on Patreon, patreon.com/Lazio Lounge. Goodbye, everybody.